Hi guys, thanks for tuning in so regularly to the website. Very grateful to all of you for the great readership that you have been giving us. The reason why we're doing this today in a video and not in an article is because there is just so much to talk about regarding this camera. And also I wanted to take a moment and talk to you guys about why we started writing through light. We started WTL about 6 months ago. This is hopefully going to be our 100th post. So again, very grateful to all of you. The reason we started WTL is very simple. I felt the need that we do not have a good resource for photographers in India. All the content that we do see online is geared mostly towards a Western audience. And while we do have a few magazines and a few publications, unfortunately, we do not get information that is unbiased and information that is accurate. One of the most asked questions is whether this stuff is actually available in our country or not. And since I have started WTL, I spend almost an hour daily answering your phone calls, messages, comments, emails. So again, very grateful to all of you, and I love doing this. This is a free resource. I'm not doing this for money, or I do not take anything back home from the content that I put out there. So please continue to keep showing us the lovely support, and please do sign up for our newsletter so that I can let you know in advance of any workshops, etc., that we might be doing. So without any further ado, let's get right down to it. Before we go any further, let me just say that a review is something that should be done seriously and should be taken seriously. So we actually spent a couple of weeks testing out this camera thoroughly. A big thank you to Avid Digital in New Delhi for helping us do that. And also I want to say that don't judge the image quality based upon a web video that you might be viewing on a tablet or a mobile phone screen. So send me an email and I'll send you a link from where you can download a few test images and then judge based upon that. Don't just judge it upon what I might be showing you. So the A7R Mark II is actually a camera that Sony has built from the ground up. You get a brand new sensor, a brand new more robust body, a new finder and a new LCD. You also now have 4K recording internal as well as in-body camera stabilization. They've also taken out time to reinforce the tripod socket. And it's stuff like that you actually expect to see from a company when they say that this is a version 2 or a Mark II. The ergonomics have also now been significantly improved. You get a much bigger grip, which is great for somebody like me who has medium-sized hands. The shutter button is now in its proper place. You also now gain a custom function button on top and a mode dial that is lockable. You also now have newer dials with a better amount of resistance to them so that you actually know that you're turning them. The movie record button, however, does stay in its previous place, which is a bit difficult to reach. I do wish they would have changed that. Now, a feature that I really like is the addition of the new finder, which is now big and bright, and you get great eye relief. That's mostly down to the fact of the addition of the Zeiss T-Star coating. And I actually had a talk with the guys over at Sony India, and they told me that the finder is something that they really wanted to get correct, especially for a high resolution camera like this. I'm sure this is something that everybody would appreciate, especially those who wear spectacles. Sony's also taken out time to upgrade the LCD screen on the back. It's a much higher resolution and you can actually view it when out shooting in the bright sun. It also now clears the finder on top and if you've got a tripod plate mounted below. Also on top of the finder you have the MI shoe or the multi-interface shoe, which now gives you the ability to use a host of products that communicate directly with the camera. That includes a monitor, XLR accessory if you want to use professional audio, as well as a full range of accessory mics. You also now have a full range of flash controllers and flashes, and the good thing is that Sony India is actually keeping all of these products in stock. The camera now also has NFC, which gives you the ability to quickly connect any mobile phone or tablet device to get a live preview image that you can then monitor remotely. Now, as much as I like using the Sony Zeiss lenses for their quality, Sony does only have a limited amount of lenses in its lineup. Therefore, one of the most talked about points of this camera is the autofocus system. You now have 399 hybrid autofocus points spread all over the sensor. Hybrid actually means that they are a combination of both contrast detect and phase detect, which actually means that we should be getting more accurate focus. Sony has also very intelligently added support for third-party adapters like the Metabones or the cheaper Comilite that I have here. That gives you the ability to hold on to your Canon or Nikon mount lenses if you are looking to change over from a system. As far as autofocus speed is concerned, just listen to this. It's very responsive, just like a native mount lens, and a huge plus point for those looking to change over from a system. However, here I do want to add that please bear in mind that the actual autofocus speed would depend on the age of your lens. I did try it out with a very old Canon lens that I had, and also with the brand new Tamron, and it was a bit unpredictable. So please bear that in mind when looking to adapt lenses to this camera. Now, this is the first camera in the world to feature a full frame BSI, or backside illuminated sensor. What that basically means is all the sensor circuitry is now behind the pixels. That gives us three things: a much higher resolution, a more efficient picture in terms of color accuracy and dynamic range, and also much better higher ISO performance. Let's discuss all of these in greater detail. In terms of resolution, you're now up to 42 megapixels. You now get 40 to 50 MB per file. When opening up the files in Photoshop, you get a native print size of about 22 by 15 at about 300 dpi. This is great for anybody looking to print big, be it architectural photographers, wedding photographers, or fashion photographers, especially in such a small body size. The most significant improvement, however, is in the picture quality, both in terms of color accuracy and in dynamic range. Now, we did some color accuracy tests, and as far as I know, we are the only ones in India who do possess this chart for testing color accuracy, especially for 4K. Playing back the footage on a vector scope, very exceptional results. This is an exceptionally color accurate camera. Now, keeping in mind that Sony has had a few troubles with the color accuracy of its sensors, especially in the Alpha 7 series. Traditionally, Sony tends to be towards the greenish blue side, and that is something that people have complained about, of seeing color patches, especially in the skin tones. This camera, however, does not have that. Very good to see Sony rectify it. In terms of dynamic range, you get exceptional recovery both in shadows and highlights if you're processing RAW. Traditionally, high megapixel and high ISO performance is not something that goes hand in hand because of the smaller pixels. This camera, however, does defy that to a great extent. You do, however, get some softness when shooting above ISO 3200. This is something I shot late last night with the noise reduction turned off. Even straight out of camera, JPEGs have exceptional noise control, especially in the black areas. Another great addition to the camera is the in-camera stabilization. You get the 5-axis sensor shift that Sony is most known for. This is great not only in theory but also in practice. I had the chance to talk with the guys from Sony Tokyo at the launch of this camera in Delhi just a while back, and they actually told me that without a capable stabilization system in the camera, you would not get image performance that was better than the previous version. That's mostly down to the higher megapixels and the smaller pixels themselves. This is great not only if you're looking to adapt lenses to this camera, but also while shooting video. Talking about video, the camera will record both full frame 4K as well as Super 35. Those of you who do work in the video world know that technically there is no such thing as full frame when it comes to video. There's only Super 35, which is roughly APS-C. That's a huge advantage with this camera, because in the Super 35 mode, the camera will actually give you a full sensor readout. Technically, the sensor then becomes 5K while you're still recording 4K. So your image is actually oversampled by almost 2 times. That really helps because you get no line skipping, you don't get any jagged lines or any color patches. In terms of recording codec, you have the very popular 100 Mbps XAVC-S. You also now have the ability to record S-Log3 and the Cine color space if you're looking to match footage. Talking of matching footage, a commonly asked question is whether you can actually match footage shot on this camera with other cameras. I would say if it is shot on another Alpha 7 series camera, matching footage should be relatively easy. If you are, however, looking to match footage shot on this camera with a bigger camera like the FS7, please bear in mind that the FS7 is a 10-bit camera, whereas this is still 4208-bit. If your lighting conditions are proper, the footage should match up properly. However, if you are shooting indoors, the difference does really show. I do have my own share of complaints with this camera though. The camera does have a few major shortcomings. The first, of course, is the overheating issue, which I think a lot of people are aware of. The camera will overheat and shut down if you are recording 4K internally, especially in the full frame mode. In the full frame mode, you only get about 10 to 15 minutes of continuous roll time. The camera does behave a bit better when you are in the Super 35 mode though, but even in that case you only get about 20 to 25 minutes of runtime. Another big concern that I do have is these W series batteries. These are only about 1020 milliamperes and you only get about 250 shots when shooting outdoors. You do however get 2 in the box when you buy the camera, so I think this is something that Sony is aware of. I really hope that they upgrade this soon. Staying with this side of the camera, I would have liked to see 2 card slots. You only have the one. There is ample space here. I'm sure a second card slot can be added, especially now that you can so efficiently record on these SD cards. Over on this side, I would have liked to see a bigger HDMI port. I think that is something people would really like, especially those looking to record 4K externally because of the overheating issue. And just personally on top, I would have liked to see a pop-up flash. Other brand manufacturers are giving a pop-up flash in a similar body size, so I'm sure it can be done. Overall, however, I would say that I am thoroughly impressed by this camera. When the camera actually came out, I did have a set of questions of whether this is going to be something that's going to make you put down your big DSLR, whether it's something that would appeal to both still photographers as well as videographers. Very happy to see Sony address all of those needs without compromising on anything. Yes, recording 4K is an issue, but I think that can be done by recording externally. That is what we have been doing all this while. The image quality on this camera trumps everything else. Therefore, it gets a very high rating from our side. 2 extra marks to Sony India for keeping all of these products in stock for Indian customers. Hopefully, we'll be doing a video only part 2 review of this camera, in which my father, who's right now filming me, will be extracting all the juice out of it. Again, a big thank you to Avid Digital in New Delhi for giving us this camera for in-depth testing, and a big thank you to all of you for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll meet next time with a lens review, so please like, share, subscribe.